Have you ever settled into your chair in the evening, looked around your home, and felt a little more tired than the day seemed to deserve? Not the kind of tired that comes from hard work, just a quiet heaviness, the sort that makes you wonder where your energy went. Many people in their 60s and 70s assume it's simply age catching up with them. We shrug and say, well, I suppose I'm slowing down. But sometimes the reason is much simpler than that. Sometimes it's the home around us. A home can either support us or quietly wear us down. Not in obvious ways, but in small ones. Little things that need to be cleaned, moved, searched through, or maintained day after day. Each one seems harmless on its own, but together they ask for more energy than we realize. In this video, I want to talk about 7 common things that often make a home feel heavier than it needs to be. These are things many of us keep without thinking much about them anymore. And sometimes letting go of just a few of them can make everyday life feel surprisingly lighter. Before we begin, if you enjoy calm conversations about decluttering and creating a peaceful home, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps this little community grow, and it lets me know these conversations are helpful. Now let's start with something many homes quietly struggle with: the linen closet. For a lot of people, the linen closet slowly turns into a space for just in case. Extra sheets, extra towels, old blankets folded long ago and rarely touched again. It usually begins with good intentions. You keep extra linens for guests. Maybe the grandchildren visit once in a while. Maybe family stays during the holidays. So it feels wise to hold on to a few extra sets. But over the years, those stacks slowly grow. And one day you open the door and the shelves feel a little crowded. Towels lean forward. Sheets lose their tidy folds. You pull one item out and another slips down behind it. It's nothing dramatic, just a small inconvenience. But small inconveniences repeated often can quietly drain our energy. Extra linens also bring extra work. They need occasional washing so they don't develop that stale smell. They need refolding. They take up space that must be organized again and again. There's also the mental side of it. Every time you open a crowded closet, your mind has to scan through everything just to find what you're looking for. Most homes really only need 2 sets of linens per bed, one on the bed and one clean set ready for the next change. That simple arrangement removes a surprising amount of work, and the extra linens don't have to go to waste. Many animal shelters gladly accept towels and sheets where they're used every day. When the closet becomes simpler, something pleasant happens. You open the door and see exactly what you need. No searching, no shifting piles. Just a quiet moment of ease, and those quiet moments add up in a home. Now let's wander into the kitchen for the next one. Over the years, kitchens tend to collect gadgets, machines that promise to make cooking faster, easier, or healthier. A bread maker, a large stand mixer, a juicer with several attachments, a food processor with so many parts it almost needs instructions just to assemble. At first, these tools feel exciting, but after a while, something interesting happens. Using the machine might take 2 minutes, but cleaning it takes 15. Blades, bowls, lids, attachments. Eventually, the effort of washing everything becomes more work than the cooking itself. So the gadget slowly stops being used. It sits in the cabinet or on the counter, waiting. As we get older, our energy becomes more valuable than ever. Simple routines begin to matter more. A tool that is easy to clean will always be used more than one that feels like a project. Often the simplest tools are still the best ones. A good knife, a solid cutting board, a dependable mixing bowl. They do their job quietly and clean up in seconds. When the kitchen becomes simpler, cooking often becomes enjoyable again instead of feeling like work. Let's spend a little time in the living room now. Many homes have small collections displayed around the room. Perhaps they sit along a shelf on top of a cabinet, or carefully arranged on a coffee table. Little figurines, decorative plates, glass animals, travel souvenirs, or keepsakes gathered across many years. Most of these items didn't arrive all at once. They came slowly, one from a trip, one given as a gift, one that caught your eye in a shop years ago. Before long, a small collection began to form, and in many cases, those items carry memories. You might look at one and remember a holiday by the ocean. Another might remind you of a friend who visited long ago. Some may have been sitting in the same spot in the house for 20 or 30 years. So of course, people keep them. They feel meaningful. But here's something many people eventually notice. Over time, the collection slowly becomes part of the background of the room. You walk past it every day, but you may not really stop to look at it anymore. Yet the work it creates never quite disappears. Anything that sits out in the open collects dust. That means each piece has to be picked up, wiped, and placed back again. One small figurine may take just a few seconds to clean, but when a shelf holds 20 or 30 pieces, it quickly becomes a task. Dusting may not seem like a big job, but over the years it can become tiring. Reaching higher shelves, bending down to lower ones. Carefully handling delicate objects so nothing slips from your hands. Sometimes people notice that they spend far more time cleaning the collection than enjoying it. And that's when it can be helpful to pause and ask a gentle question. Do I truly enjoy seeing these items every day? Or have they simply been sitting there out of habit? If the collection still brings you happiness, there's nothing wrong with keeping it. But sometimes a small adjustment can make life easier. Placing cherished pieces inside a glass cabinet protects them from dust while still allowing you to enjoy them. Another option some people appreciate is taking a photograph of the collection. A clear picture can hold the memory of those objects while removing the need to maintain every single piece. Some people even frame that photo and hang it on the wall. It keeps the memory alive while freeing up the shelf. Because as we move through different seasons of life, the goal of a home often changes. Instead of surrounding ourselves with things that require constant care, many people begin to value something simpler. A home that feels calm, a home that feels easy, and a peaceful room rarely needs constant dusting. Now let's wander back into the kitchen for something many people overlook. This next one is hiding quietly in places we don't always think about. The pantry, the refrigerator, sometimes even the medicine cabinet. Most homes have a few items sitting on the shelves that were once bought with good intentions. A bottle of vitamins from a time when you planned to start a healthier routine. A bag of specialty flour for a recipe you tried once. A jar of spices that used to smell wonderful, but now look faded and forgotten. At the time you bought them, there was a plan. You meant to use them. They felt useful. But life has a way of changing routines. Days get busy. Tastes change. New habits replace old ones. And before long, those items quietly remain on the shelf far longer than expected. The challenge isn't only the space they take up. It's the small amount of confusion they create every time you open the cabinet. You reach for one simple ingredient, but first you have to move a few jars. Then you shift a box. Then you look behind something else just to see what's hiding back there. The search might only take a few extra seconds, but when it happens again and again, it slowly turns the kitchen into a space that feels more complicated than it should. A simple pantry feels very different. When you open the door, everything is easy to see. The items inside are fresh. They are being used. Nothing is sitting there waiting for a moment that may never arrive. Many people find it helpful to spend just a few minutes every couple of months looking through their pantry shelves. Not a big project, just a quick glance. Check a few labels. Notice what hasn't been touched in a long time. If something clearly belongs to another chapter of your life, it's perfectly okay to let it go. It doesn't mean you failed to use it. It simply means your life moved in a different direction. And when the shelves hold only the things you actually use, cooking becomes easier. The kitchen becomes calmer. Now there is another kind of item that often stays in a home for many years. Furniture. Not just any furniture, but pieces that carry history. Many homes have a large dining table where family dinners once happened every evening, or a cabinet that belonged to a parent or grandparent. Perhaps a heavy piece of furniture passed down through generations. These items often hold deep memories. They remind us of celebrations, holidays, laughter, and full houses. so it's completely natural to keep them. But sometimes the life happening inside the home has changed. The large gatherings may happen less often now. The house may be quieter than it once was, yet the furniture remains exactly the same, and occasionally those pieces begin to create small challenges. A large dining table may take up space that is rarely used. A heavy cabinet might make a room feel crowded. Cleaning around these pieces can become awkward. Walking through the room may require careful steps. Over time, some people begin to realize something important. The memories connected to those items are not stored inside the furniture. They live in the heart. A photograph of a family gathering can hold the same memory as the table itself. Letting go of a large piece of furniture doesn't erase the past. Sometimes it simply creates space for the present. In some cases, family members may be happy to take the item and continue the story in their own home. Other times, it may be donated and appreciated by someone else who needs it. And sometimes, replacing a large piece with something smaller can completely change how a room feels. Suddenly, there is more space to move. Cleaning becomes easier. The room feels lighter. A home should support the life you are living today, not the one that existed many years ago. Let's talk about something that quietly builds up in many homes over the years, often without us even noticing how much is accumulated. Paper, old bank statements, utility bills, insurance documents, instruction manuals for appliances that may not even be in the house anymore, receipts tucked into drawers, envelopes sitting in small piles on desks or kitchen counters. Paper has a way of staying with us. When it first arrives, it usually feels important. A bill needs to be paid. A statement might need to be kept for records. A receipt could be useful someday, so we place it somewhere safe, and then another envelope arrives, and another, and another. Before long, there may be small stacks in a drawer or a box tucked into a closet. Some papers might be from last year. Some might be from 10 or even 20 years ago. What makes paper clutter interesting is that it doesn't just take up space in a room, it takes up space in the mind as well. Every time you walk past a stack of old paperwork, there may be a quiet thought that appears for just a moment. I should really go through that someday. It might only last a second, but that small reminder has a way of returning again and again. And over time, those little reminders can feel like a weight sitting quietly in the background of daily life. Paper also tends to collect dust. It fills drawers and cabinets, and when there is enough of it, it can make a room feel heavier than it really is. The encouraging thing is that paper clutter doesn't have to disappear all at once. Many people imagine they need a whole weekend to sort through everything. But often the most comfortable approach is much simpler. A few minutes at a time. Perhaps you sit down with one small stack, just one. You look through it slowly, keeping the few papers that truly matter, shredding or recycling the ones that no longer serve any purpose. Then another small stack the next day, and another the day after that. Little by little, the piles begin to shrink, and something interesting often happens. As the paper disappears from the room, the quiet mental weight begins to disappear as well. The space feels clearer, the mind feels calmer. There is one final type of item that many people hold on to, and in many ways it can be the heaviest of all. Not because of its size, but because of the feeling attached to it. The unfinished project. Almost every home has one. Maybe it's a knitting project resting in a basket beside the chair. Maybe it's a set of scrapbooking supplies waiting in a drawer. Perhaps there is a woodworking idea that began in the garage but never quite reached completion. Or art supplies purchased during a time when you felt curious about trying something new. At the beginning, these projects represent possibility. There is excitement in the idea of creating something, finishing something with your own hands. But life has a way of shifting. Other responsibilities appear. Interests change, energy moves in different directions, and sometimes that project quietly remains where it started. Days turn into months, months turn into years. And each time you pass it, there may be a small voice that appears in your thoughts. I should finish that someday. At first, the thought feels gentle, but over time, it can begin to feel like pressure. Instead of representing creativity, the unfinished project becomes a reminder. a reminder of something left undone. But there is something important to remember. It is perfectly normal for interests to change. The things we enjoyed 10 years ago may not be the things we feel excited about today. That doesn't mean anything went wrong. It simply means life moved forward. You do not owe a hobby your time simply because you once started it. You are allowed to change your mind. Letting go of a project that no longer fits your life is not failure. In many ways, it is a quiet act of honesty with yourself. And when those unfinished projects are cleared away, something surprising often happens. The space they occupied begins to feel open again. Instead of feeling a small sense of guilt when you pass by, you feel relief. Instead of pressure, there is freedom. You make room for the person you are today, not the person you were years ago. By this stage of life, most people have already spent decades working hard, raising families, building careers, solving problems, taking care of responsibilities day after day. Your home does not need to feel like another task on the list. It can be something gentler than that. A place that supports you. A place that allows you to move comfortably, rest easily, and enjoy the quiet moments of the day. When the house holds only the things that truly serve you now, daily life becomes simpler. Cleaning becomes easier. Walking through the rooms feels effortless. And your energy can finally go toward the things that matter most. Enjoying a peaceful morning, spending time with family, reading a good book, working on hobbies you truly love. Now I'm curious about something. As you listened today, did any of these feel familiar? Perhaps the linen closet that has grown fuller over the years. Maybe the kitchen gadgets waiting quietly in the cabinet. Or the stack of old paperwork that has been meaning to be sorted one day. Or maybe an unfinished project resting in a corner of the house. If any of these came to mind, you're certainly not alone. Many people find themselves in the same situation, and simply recognizing it is often the first gentle step toward change. If you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments. What is one thing in your home that has quietly been asking for your attention? Sometimes hearing other people's stories makes the process feel much easier. And if this conversation helped you look at your home a little differently, feel free to press the like button. It helps more people find these calm conversations about creating a lighter, more peaceful home. And if you enjoy this kind of slow, thoughtful approach to decluttering and simple living, consider subscribing to the channel. There are many more conversations like this ahead. For now, just take a quiet look around your home. You may discover that letting go of a few small things can bring back more space, more calm, and more energy than you expected.